Ryan, you got to spend a lot of time with Tim Schafer, and you got to play Day of the Tentacle with Tim Schafer.
Wonderful human being,
Yeah, of course.
And an even better game designer.
So
I love that man.
He had a really good week last week, where they announced
sure did.
they announced that Full Throttle's getting a remaster, just like Day of the Tentacle, and you got to play Day of the Tentacle with Tim.
I did.
Fill me in, because I'm not super into classic point and click games, but
all right.
Everyone says like, no, man,
Should we
Full
let's
Throttle's
start?
the one.
Hold on. We're gonna start with Full Throttle.
Okay. I'm super down already. Way
This
in.
is the theme song to the game. This is
Classic,
the opening
man.
credits.
Yup.
If you play too much of it, we're going to get a copyright strike.
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
stop
the video's
there.
been taken down.
So Full Throttle is, I mean, once Grim Fandango, when that was announced that was coming back, I was like, yes, that is regarded as one of the greatest adventure games of all time.
I never played it. I was super happy.
What did you think of it quickly as playing it for the first time? Have you yet?
No.
Oh my goodness.
I've seen it, but it's
Lock
like
yourself away over
it's
the
a
holidays.
weird thing where like I look at the puzzle solving in that game and it's like this is just it's like the archaic, awful
Some of
point
it
and click
is.
design that I don't get. But it's like everything Tim does is so funny. Like I don't like Grim Fandango.
The
I don't like-
characters, the story.
Yeah.
It's.
I don't
oh
like
my
playing
goodness.
Grim Fandango, but man, do I love like watching Grim Fandango
So-
and listening to Grim Fandango.
Grim was coming back. That was great, and it turned out the game spoiler alert, holds up great. Then we had an announcement a short time later that Day of the Tentacle would also be getting a remaster treatment. So then the natural for me it was okay. Well, those are the two of the three major Tim Schafer led LucasArts adventure games. The third one is Full Throttle, a game that I have such a weird story with because Full Throttle was 1995, I believe, and this is pre-internet. There was video game magazine days. That was pretty much it. And Full Throttle was a game that I bought Dark Forces, the original Dark Forces,
Yeah.
and it came with a bonus demo disc at like Babbage's that had a demo of some other LucasArts game on that I don't remember now. See if you can find it. Or no, maybe it was a demo disc of Dark Forces. Maybe I think I might have it confused. Anyway, point being, it was this demo disc I had from something else that had and Full Throttle was like the B side of this demo. And I was like, I literally had no idea what Full Throttle was. No clue. Popped it in thinking that it was a motorcycle combat game. It was like Full Throttle. I'd seen the art. Nope. Turns out it is a LucasArts point and click adventure game, which I was already in love with from the Monkey Islands and Loom and Day of the Tentacle. And Full Throttle, what makes Full Throttle special is not only is it's artistically one of the best looking of the LucasArts. I mean, they're all sort of
It was the most
artistically
recent one. It was
beautiful.
the last one that Tim made. Right?
It was the last of the 2D
Yeah.
LucasArts games because then there was Grim. Oh, then there was Grim and Escape from Monkey Island, which we don't talk about. But it was the last of the 2D games, and it just had this beautiful animated art style and this incredible sense of setting and place. And you were this giant behemoth biker, the leader of a biker gang named Ben. Your gang's the Polecats, and you're just this deadpan guy. You talk like this, but the humor is just straight deadpan, straight faced, and it's one of the funniest games. And it's Mark Hamill is the villain in the game, and
Awesome.
back when Mark Hamill's of course a brilliant voice actor. Everybody knows him as the Joker, and just it was such a wonderful ride. Pardon the phrasing, given that it was a motorcycle game, but just a one of a kind of all the LucasArts adventures or any adventure game, and I've loved it ever since. I've replayed it every few years. I haven't lately, and so when after the other two were announced, I thought, oh, maybe Sony really seems to have the in with Double Fine and Disney to get in there and make these happen. And sure enough, here we go, Full Throttle remastered it'll have updated art. commentary, which I'm very excited about.
That's the thing is like when I played Monkey Island, I liked the first one, but it was like way too hard in adventure game sense.
Right.
But like playing that and playing through Monkey Island 2 with commentary was like incredible. I wish every game had that.
And you'll enjoy that
really
when you get to Grim Fandango too. There's some really good commentary in there. But
I think it was you who was telling me that's like one of the most enjoyable parts of the game is playing through it and listening to Tim talk about it.
Yeah. So Marty and I did a 20th anniversary Let's Play on IGN for Full Throttle. So if you just look that up on YouTube, just give it a search, you'll find it. And it's about, I think it's like the first 20 minutes of the game where it's just Marty and I reminiscing over it. And you'll just see, you'll get a sense of like why that game is special. So the fact that Full Throttle is coming back it makes me happy to no end. And then as for Day of the Tentacle, Mitch, that was the first game that Tim was the project lead on. He sort of co-led it with Dave Grossman, who you may know, he went on to found Telltale. So he's gone on to great success and still in the adventure game space. And Day of the Tentacle is just it's also very funny, but it's sort of it's much more obvious in its humor, but you play as 3 different characters over different periods of time. You have the Chronogon, which is this time travel toilet, and you have to interact like you have things that, puzzles that involve doing something in the past to have it affect the future. And this is
like crazy ambitious for a game that came out in what, like 89?
The 93, I believe, for Day of the Tentacle. It's actually the sequel to a Ron Gilbert game called Maniac Man. The actual full name is Maniac Mansion Day of the Tentacle is the technical original name. And Maniac Mansion was Ron Gilbert's game. And here's a fun fact, which we had in our Day of the Tentacle playthrough of the new one with Tim Schafer this week. The entire original Maniac Mansion is actually hidden inside of Day of the Tentacle Remastered. You find it in like an arcade cabinet at some point in the game. Like you can walk up to it and then play all of Maniac Mansion.
That's intense. That's a lot of video games.
That's super cool. But yeah, and it all takes place in one house. Some of its puzzles get pretty tricky, but it is like the 3 main characters are all great. The tentacles are hilarious. It's an offbeat comedic adventure game that I think everybody's gonna. It's still so different than anything that's out now. Comedy is so rare in games, period. And this is definitely one of the still funniest games that you'll play. I think it's going to be great.
Not only is comedy rare in games, but we're also just in this age of the dark and gritty reboot.
True.
Man, yeah, good point.
So like everything, even if it's not exactly a dark and gritty thing, tends to have dark and gritty characteristics.
Like even Uncharted 4, right? Like the game is a big romp, but you look at it, it's just like, oh man, like everything's so dour.
Like the only funny game I can think of immediately off the top of my head for this year is Tales from the Borderlands. But it is not a comedy. It ends up being funny because of good writing, but it is not a comedy.
Right.
The last comedy was South Park, The Stick of Truth, which was amazing also.
I played a really cool game, and this is like not related to this at all, but it is a comedy. It's called Dr. Langeskov, The Tiger and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, A Whirlwind Heist. It's from the designer of the Stanley Parable and a really, really smart British writer and a really great VO talent out of the UK. And it's just like, it is a comedy. It is meant to be a pure comedy. And it's like one of those games that like has a lot to say about the player and game design. And it's one of those, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with, but it is purely a comedy. Like the whole thing, every step of the way is just like really funny performances, great writing, awesome jokes. It responds to what you're doing by cracking jokes about it. And it exists specifically not to be a good game, but to be a good comedy. And it's, like you're saying, just super rare. You don't really ever see that stuff.
The last one from memory I can think of was Sunset Overdrive, which I found to be very funny.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I would give that credit to that one.
But that's not this year. That was last year, right?
2014.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
October 2014.
Point is, there's not a lot of them out there.
So but for the love of God, if you want to laugh, if you want to play a comedy video game, keep a close eye on Day of the Tentacle. I believe was that announced for March?
Keep vamping.
I believe so from PSX. I think that was confirmed. When Tim was in here to record the thing with me, they were still like early 2016. It hasn't locked in yet, but I think
March.
on stage. Yeah, they said on stage at PSX that for it's PS4 and PC for March. So I'm going to have that one circled in ink on my calendar.
Nice. Yeah, it looks so good. I hope that I can sort of get past. I'll probably just play with a guide like I did with Grimm.
You could.
We have those here on
You're
IGN.
so disappointed. I played most of it. Like, I basically, when I played Grimm, I would play until I was like, no, I'm done. I quit. And I would just use a guide and be like, all right, cool, let's go back and get a bunch of jokes and then rage quit.
Point and click adventures are, for the way it always worked for me, and I guess everybody's different, but play them, enjoy them, and up to the point where you're stuck and you just can't, you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper in your mental hole. Walk away. Come back like hours later or the next day, and I will bet you dollars to donuts
instantly.
you'll get it real quick. That's always what happens to me, and I'll bet it happens for you.
I had that
too.
even playing Tomb Raider. Like, I was yelling at you
We're
that like
talking about
I've been
Tomb
here
Raider,
for 2 hours,
Lara
I
Croft
can't do
go,
it.
yeah.
You're like, just walk away, and an hour later I solved it instantly.